As usual, I will be spending a lot of time in my kitchen this week with a large family and trying to cook almost all of my meals from scratch. I find myself in the kitchen more than any other room in our home, and I often get asked a lot of questions about cooking from scratch, how to keep up with it, how to manage it, organize, and really how to simplify it. And so that's what I want to talk about today in this video, is just simplifying meal times and making this never-ending job a little bit easier. The first thing that I have going here in my kitchen is today I'm making some whole grain chocolate Long John donuts. Now obviously this is not something needed to nourish my family. I'm doing some recipe testing for a blog post that I'm putting up on my cooking blog, castironskilletcooking.com. But this will be a breakfast for my family tomorrow with some milk, and I'll also have to fry up some eggs because lots of my kids, myself included, likes eggs or something with like high protein for breakfast. And this will be what we like to call our breakfast dessert. Not that you need a breakfast dessert, but anytime I make like a smoothie or chocolate milk or something that goes after like an egg or more savory breakfast, that's what we call it. And then while these donuts are rising, I'm going to be getting some dinner going for our family. I'm making some sausage and shrimp jambalaya. And I also have that recipe on my blog, so I'll link all of these different recipes for you guys down below. But while I work on these things, I want to give you guys some tips and practical advice on how to make cooking from scratch a little bit more manageable and easier. One thing that helps me the most is batch prepping ingredients instead of full meals. So I'll cook a few pounds of meat at once, chop onions, wash veggies, and store them in containers. That way, when dinner rolls around, I'm just assembling, not starting from scratch every night. This is something that I've been doing since the beginning of my married life and becoming a mom. I try to do a lot of my cooking, or at least prepping for dinner, during my little one's afternoon nap time, because if you are a mom and you have toddlers, you know that around the 5 o'clock hour, that's whenever they get very needy and cranky and oftentimes at your feet. Not that I don't do a lot of cooking with crying toddlers at my feet, that happens all the time, but I try to do the best that I can at batch prepping, or at least having some type of idea of what I want to do for dinner during their afternoon nap. And I know that's not something that every mom can do because not every mom is home. And so if you're not home during the day, this is something that you could do on a weekend, maybe Saturday or Sunday. Since I am home all during the week, I typically don't do as much cooking on the weekends, and so that sounds dreadful to me because I like to be just like out and about on the weekends. But if you need to, it's something that can be done on a Saturday or Sunday night. Something else that I do is I don't try to reinvent dinner every night. We repeat meals. We eat leftovers, sometimes breakfast for dinner. That saves the day. That's always like my fast food meal. If I don't have anything in mind for dinner, I can always fall back on breakfast because whipping up some pancakes, eggs, sausage is very quick and you don't have to have anything like planned from that. Cooking from scratch doesn't have to mean complicated. It can mean using simple, real ingredients, making a little extra when you can, and giving yourself grace when things don't go as planned, because that's going to happen all the time, which is one of the main reasons I don't like to have a very strict meal plan, but rather just have ingredients on hand and the pantry and fridge stocked so that coming up with a meal can be easy. While on the topic of simplifying mealtime, I want to tell you about an app that I recently found to be super helpful with organizing and saving recipes from social media called Resimi. Resimi makes it easy to save all of your recipes from social media, blogs, cookbooks, handwritten, and even your notes app all in one safe place. All the recipe details are imported in a step-by-step format with all of the ingredients and measurements needed, and the ingredients are extracted from the recipes and you can add them to a grocery list in the tap of a button. And using the app is really simple. When you find a recipe you love and want to save, you just click on the share button and choose Resimi, and then you can pick which cookbook you want to save it to. I personally made ones for dinner, drinks, dessert, dinner parties, and a few others. And that's it. Anytime I'm feeling at loss of what to make for a meal, I just open my app and choose a recipe to try. So if you want to simplify your mealtime, you can get an exclusive 2-week free trial to Resimi Plus by using my link in my description box below. We all have those dinners that are on repeat because they just work for our family. So I try to keep those types of meals in mind, like skillet meals or soups or casseroles, stuff that I can just throw together fast. When I'm meal planning, I don't start from scratch. I just pick a few from that list, or really that's just like an ongoing list in my mind of things I know that work really well, and throw those into things that we're gonna eat multiple times in 1 month, probably like once a week or something like that. Next, I am working on a gingerbread loaf recipe. This is something that we'll probably make several times over the winter and the Christmas season. I love baking this time of year. I'm sure most people are on board with that. And after I get this all put together and in the oven, I am going to do some organizing in my pantry and some of my bulk food items and really talk through how I keep all of that organized and kind of how I manage buying in bulk. It's kind of a strategy and something that you have to get used to for sure. I haven't always done it this way, but over time I've gotten a lot better at it. It actually really does save you on your grocery bill if you're not going as often, but just kind of stocking up at one time, being able to buy from a co-op to buy in bulk. I talked about this a little bit in my last video, and so I wanted to kind of expound on that and give you guys some tips on that and how I go about organizing all these different types of bulk food items. All right, so in this house, we don't actually have a pantry, so I just use this cabinet above my stove for our pantry food items. And then behind this curtain, I actually have this curtain here just to kind of block off our mudroom and then what I also call my pantry. It's not really a pantry, but I have a shelf back there that keeps all of my big appliances like my crock pot and Instapot and a lot of my bulk food items. And I just like to kind of separate that room. My laundry room is also there. My room, really just a laundry machine. It's not even a room, but that's just how we're doing it in this home. This is our rental home that we are just going to be at for probably just a few more months before we move into the house that we're building. And then there I'll have a big walk-in pantry. So here I'm just trying to make things work the best that I can. So I have some tips if you have a smaller house or no pantry. And also we don't have a basement to this house. So at my last home, I was able to store bulk foods downstairs in my basement, but here we don't. So I had to get a little bit creative. And one thing that I like to do, I like to keep things in mason jars, containers, 5-gallon buckets, things with lids, because when you buy things in bulk, this will help it to stay fresh longer. I like to keep my pantry stocked with all of the baking essentials, sugar, salt, obviously whole grains for grinding flour, powdered sugar, chocolate chips, all these things. And I like to get a lot of this at Azure Standard because I can get organic ones that don't have any extra add-ins in it or bad oils or like seed oils. So I like to keep healthier ingredients on hand because my daughter really loves to bake, and I feel like if we're using whole real food ingredients, that even her baked goods can somewhat be healthy, obviously in moderation. And then we have so many potatoes, like bulk potatoes. I have an aunt and uncle that are master gardeners and they bless us with so much produce. It's really awesome. And so we have so many of these red potatoes. We have boxes of sweet potatoes, and I keep the extra boxes that she actually gave them to me in on top of my deep freezer, which is in our mudroom. And then as we need them, I bring in the ones that we need that I store here under my hutch. I like to keep things like canned tomatoes and canned beans on hand. This can be for a very simple chili or soup, or if I need to make some pasta sauce. And so that's something that I just always have on hand. Sometimes I get this from Azure Standard. This last round I just got on my Walmart order. They have organic tomatoes and beans there with nothing else added in, just the beans and salt. And so that's something that I can keep on hand for some easy meal times. That's kind of another thing that we fall back on a lot in our home is some chili, because it's so easy to make. You can just do ground beef, some couple cans, and you can have dinner ready really quickly. We keep things like oatmeal and wheat berries in bulk back by our deep freezer, just stacked in some big 5-gallon buckets. And then I keep little jars of those up in the pantry or on the counter or the hutch, things that we use all the time. I buy honey in bulk. We go through a lot of honey. So that is another thing that I like to keep stocked in my pantry. And I find that one of the biggest tips I have for cooking from scratch is just to have meat defrosted in your refrigerator and having your pantry and refrigerator stocked with all of your essentials. Now it might look a little different than mine, but whatever those things are, so that when it is mealtime, if you are completely blindsided, which you know that happens to all of us, you have something that you can come up with rather quickly to get a meal on the table. This gingerbread loaf turned out so good, and I decided to make a cream cheese frosting to top it with. And this just became an afternoon snack for the kids. I don't always do a lot of snacking. We do most of our eating just at meal times, but every once in a while, if I have something around, they will most certainly eat it. And on this particular day, we had something going on in the evening, so we had dinner a little bit later. So it was something good to hold them over until our dinner time. The last meal that I'm making here in my kitchen this week is just a simple meatloaf. This is one of those meals, again, that we make somewhat often. I guess it's like one of those meals I'll make often and then we'll kind of forget about for like a month or two, and then I'll start making it again a bunch. But everyone in my family loves it. It's easy, and it's a really good one to prep before, so you can get it all together, stick it in the fridge, and then just bake it whenever you're ready. And this would be a really good one to make double of. That's something that I try to do. If I'm already chopping and cooking, I might as well double it and make 2 meatloaves or 2 lasagnas, one for tonight and then one for the freezer. You can slice extra veggies while the cutting board's already out and dirty, and then you have another meal that's somewhat prepped and thought through. All right, so my last tip I'm gonna give you is that you can have a themed night or two. This is fun and an easy way for you not to have to think about a new meal or dinner every single night. So you can have a Taco Tuesday, a Soup Sunday, Pizza Friday, whatever fits your family. It takes the guesswork out of planning, and the kids love it because they know what to expect. I think as moms, we put so much pressure on ourselves to make dinner this big event every night. But the truth is, your family just wants you, not fancy food, not hours of preps, just you present at the table. So start small, prep a few things ahead, reuse ingredients, and let dinner be simple, because simple doesn't mean boring. It means sustainable and something that you can actually do each and every night. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some good meal inspiration and maybe some ideas on how to make that never-ending job just a little bit easier.